So it looks like we're nearing a conclusion with this Kiwior out Hincapie in saga, which, to be fair, hasn't been going on very long, so I'm not trying to sit here sounding impatient. Kiwior's agreed a move to Porto, or shall we say Arsenal have agreed terms with Porto, 25 million euros guaranteed, 27 million euros max. So that max figure is about 23 million pounds. It's not great, is it? But it's something. It is more. It's a profit on what we paid for him, which I believe was around £20 million. It's David Ornstein that came in with the update. But it's been clarified by David Ornstein that deal won't go ahead unless the Hincapie deal is done too. Why am I hiccupping so much? I do this so much in videos. I'm so sorry. The beauty of Goonerverse News is that I just turn on the camera and record and don't really care. So anyway, Kiwior to Porto. I've given some thoughts on this before. I am surprised that Premier League clubs haven't come in for him. I am surprised that 23 million is all we could get. I think Jordan and Turkish made this point of Forever Arsenal, and rightly so. 40 million for Jarrell Quansah. Sometimes I wonder if in the market you are a victim of your own success. Sometimes I wonder whether the more you play and the more a team gets, maybe the public and fans get to see you, the more other clubs get to see you, almost your value can tank a little bit. Because Quansah came in for Liverpool in his first season a couple of years ago and did pretty well. But there was the odd high-profile mistake like Old Trafford, and he wasn't good enough for Slot to feel like he could use him and trust him properly last season. It goes for 40 million. Like £40 million in the end. Kiwior, who we've seen a lot of over the last 2.5 years, who's played right centre-back, who's played left-back, who's just starting left-back at a time where Arsenal were on their best run under Mikel Arteta, who started left-back at the Etihad. We struggled a little bit, but we drew 0-0 that game, who ended up coming into left centre-back in Gabriel's absence and playing really, really well in the Champions League. I didn't think he ever once looked out his depth against Real Madrid and PSG, two of the most frightening attacks, whether it be because of team cohesion or personnel. And he stood up to it. 23 million. Like, do you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like the more you play, the more your value can kind of decrease, if that makes any sense. Almost like the more of a known quantity you are, the more you play, the more we see the best of you, but the worst of you too. Whereas with Jarrell Quansah, I think there's probably this air of potential that kind of hangs over him, right? He's a bit younger. We haven't seen as much of him, but the potential's right up there. So therefore, he must be a £40 million player. And I think that's true of either that or Arsenal just terrible at selling. And it could really be that, right? Ben Doak's going for more money than Kiwior. I mean, that's crazy to me. So we need to address this. And I said this with Zinchenko too. Did Zinchenko's stock, or has it gone up since his time at Arsenal? And a lot of people say no, but I think, well, think about it. At City, he was a bit part player who came in and out, but he went for 35 million because of his potential. He was never a regular for Man City. Actually, am I lying? Did he start in the Champions League final? I think he did. But do you know what I mean? Like, comes to Arsenal, shows he can be a part of a team that kicks on massively, challenges for the title. But the kind of the interest after that is barely there. And I think he's shown he's a very dependable, very good player. I think he'll stay, by the way, and actually I'm happy for him to stay. But yeah, isn't it interesting? It's just kind of like a thought I'd had. Anyway, on Hincapie. So apparently today's a key day. That's according to Florian Plettenberg. And we'd heard others saying, I think it was Hand of Arsenal saying that Berta's trying to get to a conclusion today. I mean, you've got to think it's Friday. The deadline's Monday. We don't want this dragging on. Berta doesn't want this dragging on. And if we're not going to meet what Leverkusen want, which is supposedly the €60 million release clause, so what's that, £55 million or something, if they're not going to budge on that, then we are in danger of missing out completely on an option and missing out on the sale of Kiwior. So I think Arsenal are going to try and get to resolution today, and I expect we might get the here we go or terms agreed or deal off today. I think there's a good chance that happens. Or if that doesn't happen, Arsenal might move through the window, but Berta is very experienced working on multiple deals. He will be he'll be looking at the market for other left backs / left centre backs who are in the same profile, who give us the same advantages that Ben and I talked about on the Goonerverse. And with all that, Berto, I'm sure, will land on something that him and Arteta are happy with so that the Kiwior deal can be sanctioned. I don't think Kiwior's going without there being a replacement, because then you're asking an injury-prone Calafiori to be the only cover for lewis-skelly, who's an 18-year-old central midfielder playing left-back, and Gabriel's just come up hamstring surgery at left centre-back. I just don't see that being how Arsenal, the way they've operated this window, the fact they're even going for Hincapie tells me that they're not willing to go in that weak from the squad perspective in defence. Now, Hand of Arsenal's also said that Berta is looking out for other just opportunities in the market if anything just pops up. Now, I'm going to throw this out there. And United fans will troll, because I don't think United would do it. Well, they've actually said they won't do it. But you know where I'm going with this. Kobbie Mainoo. He wants a loan. No, it's not going to happen. I rate the player so highly, and I think he's a really good fit for our squad as either a left 8 or cover at the 6. I think he'd be brilliant for us. And I think if you go in quite aggressively, United need money. He's behind Ugarte, Bruno and Casemiro in central midfield right now. Even Mount was dropped into those positions. The thing is, I think Amorim's going to go. I don't think Amorim's going to last long. Therefore, I think Mainoo will stick out, and United will stick it out because they think maybe the next manager will get something out of Mainoo. So I actually don't see it being possible for anyone to come really pick him up. But he has asked Manchester United for a loan. He doesn't want to leave completely. But why not test that resolve? And you know what? I say it somewhat cheekily because we've always had, when we've not been at our best, we've always had our best players and our best prospects picked off by the bigger clubs. I'd love to see Arsenal move in that way, but I just don't think that's remotely what's going to happen. But I'm just asking. No one has linked us, by the way. I mean, I don't know if I've made that clear enough. No one has linked us at all. But I would just be quite interested in Arsenal looking at that, especially because Mourinho might have to cover up front in Havertz's absence, which I'm hearing mixed reports about it being weeks. Some people say it being months, and also I think we could do with. No, we can't. I was about to say we could do with more Ghana central midfield. We've just added Eze. The squad's looking good, but maybe in terms of some long-term depth at 6, someone who can play as a creative type from central midfield. But anyway, look, I'm just waffling. Mainoo, I don't think he's going to leave Man United. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I would like Arsenal to test that because I think he's a top player and he's clearly a little bit unsettled. But I think he'd be a really good fit, for player and for us. But United won't do it. I don't think Mainoo would do it, actually. I think he loves Man United. And I think the reason he specified he wants a loan is because he's probably not backing Amorim to be there next season. And maybe a new manager would want Mainoo. But anyway, it's just something that, as Hand of Arsenal was talking about Berta exploring opportunities, that was one that kind of reared its head. Also, just very quickly, Tottenham picked up Xavi Simons. I don't know if you guys saw that. Really good signing, fair play. I mean, they've had this number 10 budget for a couple months now. They looked at Gibbs White, they looked at Eze. Rodgers was supposedly a target, but I don't think they ever moved for him. And then when I got Xavi Simons, which I think is a really poor miss from Chelsea. Having got the Garnacho deal done, to not pick up Xavi Simons is a strange one when you've got Gittins, who is an out-and-out winger anyway, and then you've got Esteban on the other side, and you've got Neto. I know it's a really strange one from Chelsea to miss out on Xavi Simons. But Tottenham picked him up, and I always thought whichever club didn't get Eze, they had to be quick on Simons. And when I say that, I was really talking about it from our perspective. I think I did a video back when I was on tour saying, don't ruin the window now. And I said, if it's not Eze, be in the conversations for the Simons stuff. And Tottenham have supposedly seen it in that way and gone and got it done. So, yeah, I've got to say fair play to him. I always wanted Eze over Simons, but if you're going to miss out on one, the other is not a bad player to pick up in what's been a very good market for the 10s. Wirtz, Shirky, Eze, Simons, a position that was dying out a little bit. Morgan Gibbs-White was there, but obviously something kind of, went wrong there, didn't it? But that was another player that was potentially on the market. when you think of these moves, tens have moved and clubs have added their creativity, haven't they? So I think we could be in for a very interesting Premier League season and an entertaining one, which has certainly started that way already. That's my thoughts on just transfers in general, but that's the update. Kiwior close to Porto for 27 million euros. It's about 23 million pounds all in, but it won't be sanctioned unless Hincapie and the deal to Arsenal gets agreed, which I reckon we're trying to do around 45 million pounds. The other interesting thing, sorry, very quickly about that, is Ornstein didn't specify. He said a package worth. So is that a loan with an obligation to that package, or is that a straight up fee now? Don't think it matters, just interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Kiwior soon to Porto and hopefully Hincapie to Arsenal.